Welcome to the Sharpe Way show, a bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And the funny part is, it's Saturday night. And I don't always do shows on Saturday night. But tonight, I decided to do one. And the weirdest part about it is, as I decided to do a late night show on Saturday night, like war decided to break out and stuff. So it's kind of weird. I think it's my fault. I think this is all my fault. I think I'm the one who's doing it. I mean, maybe, but maybe not. I guess we'll see. I didn't want to bring that up right away, though. I know some of you will want to bring that up. I wanted to bring up something. Again, it's an AMA, so you can ask me anything. I will answer any questions. But the piece that I do want to bring up here, though, is actually what happened in Australia. That's where I want to start this, a small way, but I'll go wherever you want. I want to start in Australia. Why would I want to start in Australia? Because there was something in Australia that happened, which was a stabbing. And it was a mass stabbing in Australia. Now, most people who worry about gun control and things like that, the first thing they talk about is, well, everything's been good because, they got rid of all the guns in Australia. So now everything's good. That's what they all say. Everything's good. That's what they would tell you. But there was still a mass stabbing. So how do we handle a mass stabbing? Seriously, this is a regular tool. The argument you always get is, well, you have to get rid of the guns because the guns are made to kill people. Well, knives aren't made just to kill people, but they kill people pretty well. This guy, not only that, he killed children. He killed women. He killed a bunch of people. But I'll go one step further, I should say. Not just when it comes to controlling knives or controlling people, whatever the case may be. What if they didn't get rid of all the guns? What if in this case, this guy's mad and he wants to stab people and they didn't get rid of all their guns? How far would that have gone, say, in Ohio now, or say in Texas? His actual stabbing spree went over minutes. Many minutes went over. Many minutes went over. With all those stabbings and all that time, what would have happened? I can tell you what would have happened. He would have been shot by somebody, some bystander. He wouldn't have had to wait for a cop to come and shoot him. Somebody else would have come by and shot him. That's what would have happened in, say, Ohio, Texas, someplace like that, right? That would happen. In New York, no, you wait for a cop because you can't have a gun. Or if the guy would have shot, if somebody in New York City would have shot the guy stabbing, the guy in New York City would have gone to jail. I'm not joking. The guy who would have shot the guy would have gone to jail. Who stopped the stabber from stabbing children and women, that guy would have gone to jail. But imagine again if in Australia, they hadn't taken all the guns. Well, I'll tell you. Number one, see, he would have been shot earlier. Number two, there wouldn't have been lockdowns the way they were. Yeah, those two things would not have happened the same way at all if Australia hadn't taken away the guns. I think, obviously I am biased, but I don't care if I'm biased. I think gun control is one of the reasons why some people died. That's what I believe. And what are you going to say? Well, we want to have common sense knife control. Yeah, that's dumb. I know it is. That's dumb. I know it is. But that's what they're thinking. I talked about this the other day, that actually in UK, they're considering common sense knife control. Is that what happens now? It's insanely stupid. I just want to bring that up because it really bothered me. And the stabbing part bothered me tremendously. And the idea that if someone had a gun, those kids wouldn't be dead. Those mothers wouldn't be dead if there was somebody there to do it. If you watch the video, most of the people ran. Most of the people ran. They didn't go to stop the person. Most of the people in that place just ran away. They ran away while he was stabbing literally women and children. I'm not joking. He was literally stabbing women and children, and most people in that mall just ran away. And I said to myself, is that what would happen here? And that also bothered me. I said to myself, well, that would happen here. and I think about New York City. And years ago, I would have said, no way. New Yorkers would have fought. That's what I would have said years ago. I don't say that anymore. We have been trained in New York City like trained dogs to run. We've been trained to run. I think now in New York City, we run away, call the cops, and let the guy stab all the women and children. I don't think we step in at all. I think we just walk away, run away. I think that's what we do. That is, again, why it bothered me, because I saw New York City in that, and I didn't want to see that, but I did. And that's why it bothered me, because if this was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, no way. New Yorkers would have fought that guy, beat him to a pulp. That's what would have happened in New York years ago. Not anymore. Not since the lockdowns, not since the gun laws, not since what happened to this city. This city is not full of lions anymore. It is full of sheep. The lions are leaving. They're packing up and they're getting out of here. They are leaving so fast. It is terrible how fast they're leaving. I wish they weren't, but they are. I don't know who's going to be left here to defend us, if anything, if anybody. That's why I'm a bit bothered. And again, the other piece, of course, becomes, well, wait a minute, Larry, there's good gun laws here. There's better, if you want to say, destroyed, of course, there's better gun laws or more gun laws, I should say, in Australia than there are here. They have mandatory buybacks. Far worse. And I mean, I assume that what would have happened if someone had actually done anything, they would have arrested the guy who had a gun, right, in Australia, as they would have done here. I know it sounds terrible. I just can't stand that it's true. Let me grab a couple of comments. I'm sure you guys will have comments. And by the way, this will be a good show, of course, so please click that button that is like. Click the button that is like. It does matter, so please do it. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, why do you hate me? I don't know why you hate me if you haven't subscribed. What's wrong with you? Subscribe. If you're watching on X or Twitter, please retweet or repost this now. It doesn't matter. If you want your chat to go to the front, your question to go to the front, you can always super chat me if you are on Larry Sharpe YouTube. And if you really love me, you can become a member on YouTube by clicking join, and that would help tremendously. Let me grab a couple of comments on this very special Saturday night. John says, "Good evening, Larry. How are you?" Yes. All right. Let me see if I can see if I can grab this here. Okay. OG Boxer says, "Was watching on Facebook, but I'm in jail." Well, I'm glad you're not. Joe says, "Tuning in from Fina Benowen's for USN fundraiser live stream. Fina is amazing. I was on her live stream yesterday from 2 to 3. I also donated $100 to her because I think she's amazing. Hope if anybody else cares about, if anyone cares about how you can make impact in Florida, one of the great ways to do it is to go over to Fina Benowen and give her some money. I gave her $100. If you can do something like that, that'd be amazing. So yes, absolutely." Kevin asks, off topic, but it's okay, AMA, if Trump executive orders nationwide abortion, won't state courts like New York just override that? I don't know why Trump would do that, and I don't know how he would. I mean, I guess, did I miss something? Did Trump say he was going to? From what I've seen, from what Trump has been saying about abortion, he's been far less aggressive than most Republicans. Most Republicans are actually more conservative on abortion than he is. So I don't see him doing that. Particularly, I mean, he might say it as a thing to do to get elected, I guess maybe, but abortion is not being anti-abortion, or I should say pro-life in America, not popular right now. If you want to get elected, you probably don't want to say that. And he wants to get elected. So I don't see that happening at all. I mean, I don't know why you would think that. I see no evidence of him doing that in any way, shape, or form. He hasn't talked about it. I don't think he'll do it. I can't imagine it. So I don't think so. But the other issue is what is the nationwide? Trump executed nationwide abortion. I'm assuming you meant ban, right? This is what you meant was a ban. I don't think it's going to happen. And of course, New York would ignore him. Of course, New York would. New York ignores the Second Amendment. New York ignores whatever it wants to. There is, in states like New York, we don't have a democracy. There is no repercussion for not following the Constitution. None. The governor doesn't have to. Nothing's going to happen. Kathy Hochul wins no matter what. It doesn't matter. There's no repercussions. No Republican's going to win. And they sue guys like me off the ballot. So she can do whatever she wants anytime. And she does. She literally does whatever she wants, however she wants. There are no repercussions because we don't have a democracy. So I guess there's that. So yes. Let's see here if I can do this. Oh, New York Liberty. No one needs an assault knife or needs a butter knife. That's my point. See, if we just had common sense knife control, plus, by the way, that guy was wearing flip-flops. Did you see that? He was running around in flip-flops. If we just had common sense flip-flop control, he couldn't have run so fast, stab all those people. See, that's what we got to worry about. You know, you were thinking about flip-flops, you weren't thinking about that. You only thought about, I was going deeper than you. See, I'm playing like 4D chess. That's why I'm on the show, because I'm playing 4D chess. That's the reason. See, there we go. Yes. So no sound bites live. Michael Voss, how are you, sir? There were 2 mass shootings in the 10 years prior to gun control in Australia and 1 after. Knife attacks are massively higher and continuous each year. Also in the UK, you're correct. Generally speaking, the problem is always almost going to be unhappy people. That's the problem. And the bigger problem is if you try to fix unhappy people, that's hard. Passing some stupid draconian law, that's way easier. Let's pass a draconian law. Let's do some nice virtue signaling, and we'll just let people die again. And we're the elites. We all us elite people, we all have, people who are, bodyguards with guns. We're good. So yes, there we go. And then why Liberty also says they have had worse stabbings in China, as in more victims. Yes, someone on a show the other day, I had, what show was I on? I actually forgot what show it was. I was talking about China, and they were saying, well, China, that has strict gun laws, and it's totally safe. And I said, that you made that up. That's absolutely not true. You're not totally safe in China. There's crime and murder in China too, like there is every place. They just, like you said, they use knives or bats, or they throw you off a building. That's the thing in China. They throw you off a building. Made a mistake. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yes, exactly right. So Joe has the answer. Joe, you know what? You often have the answer, and you have it now. Larry had the solution to end all stabbings. Government should make a new law to ban stabbings. This is brilliant. Because the problem is we only have laws for like murder, right? So we had laws for murder, but then people kept shooting people. So then we made gun laws. See, you are smart, Joe. We got to make a law against stabbing. That would end stabbing, because our law against murder ended murder. There's no more murder. So, wait. I'm going to ignore all logic and agree with you completely, because I feel good when I do that. And I just want to feel good. I don't want to actually solve anything. I want to feel good. So, yes, there we go. James says, I saw the debate you hosted. This isn't a question, so maybe I shouldn't do it, but it's okay. I saw the debates you hosted that included both RFK Jr. and Cornel West. I think it was good. Thank you. Except for the guy who interrupted you. Yeah. Because it showed the potential LP candidate who they will have to compete with for third-party vote. I agree. I was a big fan of both of those. Another reason why I liked so much having both Cornel West and RFK Jr. at our convention is because it brought the press. Now, some of you may have noticed, our presidential candidates, our LP presidential candidates, actually got interviewed in the Washington Post, right? They got interviewed in different places, New York Times, and they got quoted. I think Rectenwald got quoted in Rectenwald and Hornberger, I think, got quoted in the Washington Post, I think. But they got quoted. Of course. Why? Because I literally told all the people who came for RFK Jr. and Cornel West, oh, by the way, we have candidates too. Yes, I literally said that. I was like, oh, no, check him out. Oh, check him out. I was bringing reporters to our people. So you might go, well, would they have gone anyway? No. Those reporters would have never shown up if it wasn't for RFK Jr. and Cornel West. And more RFK Jr. than Cornel West. They came because of that. That's why they came. That's why I was happy they were there, because they gave our guys an attempt at getting into the paper, or to getting to the press, paper like old land, getting into the press. So yes, I'm happy about that. So, all right. Grande Richard says Spike Cohen had a great debate about this. I know, I did a show on it like 2 days ago. Where you been, man? Where you been? It's all right. That libertarian lady says the gun grabbers will say at least the attacker only had a knife and killed 6 people. It would have been more if the attacker had a gun. That is maybe true, right? It's possible that if the guy had a gun, he could have killed more people. That is possible. But what if someone else had a gun? Right? And the example I'll give you is the most popular one, probably recently. Last year, was it? Or was it 2 years ago? I forgot when it was. It was in Texas in a church. A guy thought, oh, I'm in a church. No one will have a gun here. It's Texas. That was not smart thinking, right? That guy did not. Well, clearly he was nuts anyway, but he wasn't even smart. So he said, I'm going to shoot some people. Pulled out his gun, fired once, dropped. Took out one person. He was dropped. There were people right there with firearms, dropped them. So I think they may be right. If that guy had guns and nobody else had guns, that's true. And that's how these horrible mass shootings happen, because only the bad guys have guns. They're right, libertarian lady. When nobody else has guns but the bad guy, they're right. But when other people have guns, they're wrong. That's the issue. So I hope that makes sense in that one. So yes. All righty. OG Box goes on to say, unarmed people are equal to sheep. Sheep run away. Yes. Yes. Absolutely true. Yes. So that part does bother me. I know it does bother me. Oh yeah, choke a guy out in the subway that was attacking people, go to jail. Look, I understand why people were mad at Daniel Penny for choking that guy. I do. I understand why they were mad. I do. And there's a massive and on this. And how can you not think he was trying to do the right thing? That's the part that bothers me, right? Could you argue he was negligent? You could argue that's at least an argument back and forth. Did he go too far? Maybe you could argue that, in my view, right? You could argue it. I don't know details, but you could argue it at least. But how can you argue murder? Did he say, I can't wait to kill this dude? Stop it. That's just not a thing. That's not what happened at all. He was trying to stop a bad thing from happening. If you want to argue, did he go too far? I'm open to the argument. I'm not detailed on the situation. We can discuss that. Maybe. That's a conversation. But murder? No, that's just people deciding that Daniel Penny is elitist and the other guy isn't. So now that makes the other guy a victim no matter what, and that's bad. No. And that is one of the reasons. This is what people don't see. Too many people in New York think, oh, that's justice, putting Daniel Penny in jail. Now the evil white guy won't kill the evil black guy. That's what they think. Utterly, completely wrong. Utterly wrong. What it just said is, don't you dare try to help anybody. That's what. How do you know that? Because a couple days later, a couple weeks later, whatever it was, there was an incident. Nobody helped. Nobody helped. Shooting, nobody helps. Stabbing, nobody helps. Nobody in New York City helps anymore. They don't. They just let this shit happen. They walk away. Why? Stuff like that. Stuff like that. People think, oh, we're righteous now because we put them in jail. No, you're destroying your own city. You're breaking your own community. It's all gone. Yes. Phil says, New York City lost that blue-collar working class element. Not totally, but a lot of it. Yes, Phil, I think a lot of it is gone. A lot of the blue-collar jobs are gone. You're right. And I know your logic is the blue-collar male is much more of a physical male and will stop the bad thing. And that's a stereotype, and it's an accurate one. You are correct. It's an accurate stereotype. It is a stereotype, and it's real. The construction worker type guy, that type of guy, yes, he is far more likely to do the right thing, in air quotes. You're totally correct. It is a stereotype, and it's accurate. And when you have less of that, you just have less of them doing it. Yes, absolutely. So anyway. All right. Let's see if I can keep going down here. Let's see. So many. I appreciate all these things. I'm trying to grab more of these. I want to see if I can find some actual questions. You guys are doing a lot of comments, which I like. I do that. Yes. Mike says, okay, can't do that. Executive orders can't create abortion law. That part, yes, but no. So let me cover both of those. For those of you who don't know, Michael, you know this, but a lot of people don't know this. Executive orders aren't by default bad. Their original idea wasn't to make a law. The original idea, which is what Michael's talking about, is what was supposed to be to explain how to enforce a law. So they have a law that would say, you know what, nobody can wear blue pants or whatever. It's a stupid law that Congress makes. They make nothing but dumb laws. They make some dumb law. The president has to decide, how do you enforce that? So he would write an executive order, in theory, to explain how to enforce the no blue pants law. That's what was supposed to happen. So Mike he is officially correct. However, that's gone away. Now, presidents just decide, nope, I'm writing a law. They just do it now. They just make laws. And they do it for many reasons. And this is a big problem. It isn't just, believe it or not, the president's fault for doing it. It is, obviously, but not only his fault. Often, how our system now works, the parties have completely hijacked the Congress. They might go, Larry, is that a good thing? No, because what happens is they don't want to actually put anything on the floor. Nothing. And the party leadership decides what goes on the floor. I'm not joking. So you decide, Mike decides to run for Congress. He wins. He's now in Congress. He says, I have this bill for X, Y, and Z. The leadership goes, you can't put it up. Why? Because we say so. I'm not joking. Justin Amash has done show after this, talked about this. You can just look at his Twitter. It's filled with these things. That's how, it's one reason why he left. Literally, Mike has a great bill, puts it up. Leadership goes, no, just no. And Mike has no recourse. He can do nothing except maybe go on Twitter and yell, hope he can get on CNN or MSNBC or Fox. He probably can't because he's popular enough because they control that too. The parties control it. So nothing gets done except for the horrible omnibus bills. Here is a bill that has everything in it. And why would they like that? Because there's always some garbage in it that they can use in commercials to say, there'll be all these great things. There'll be one thing that, I don't know, you voted against kids or something. And then they'll attack Mike when he runs again. Mike who voted against the loving kids bill or whatever, which is part of some massive omnibus bill with 80,000 things in it that a bunch of, lawyers and lobbyists wrote. That's how it actually works. So because of that, nothing gets done. Presidents have to tell people they did stuff, right? Right? And some just did something. So they just make an executive order. That's Obama and DACA. I'm not against the concept of DACA at all. I'm not against that concept. Let's find an answer for the kids who are here. Okay, let's find a way. I'm okay with that. But what Obama did, to Michael Voss's point, was illegal. You can't just make a law. But he did. So Mike is right, but he's not, because presidents just do it. And because they just do it, now the courts have to now go, wait a minute, is this really constitutional? And the problem is the courts very rarely do the courts actually go, he shouldn't do it. They actually act as if what he did was a law and decide if that law is constitutional versus saying he shouldn't do it. Depends on the court, right? So even that becomes a problem. Because if the Supreme Court accepts an executive order because they believe that order was constitutional, they've just allowed the president to make law. So yes and no. I went long on that, but I want to be clear. Michael is officially right, but in practice, they just do it anyway. So let me go on. And Trump hasn't said that. Left media has said about Trump. I agree. I've never heard Trump say that. I think, unless you guys know something I don't know, and I'm happy to be wrong here, I have never heard Trump say he wanted to ban abortion. I've never heard. He to me, I'm an outsider looking in. He seems less conservative on abortion than I think many Republicans. That's just my view. I think Steve has a good answer, which is ban the butter knives. Yeah. If we just ban things, that'll work. Andrew says, some guy in the park today told me advocating for Social Security cuts is political suicide. Republicans talk about doing it, but don't have the balls to follow through. Any thoughts? It's a great question. I do think advocating for Social Security cuts is probably a bad idea. Most don't do that. They dodge around it or say, like, we're going to raise the retirement age or something like that. And the reason is many people on Social Security, the vast majority of them vote. So if you're going to say, I'm taking your money away, somebody might not vote for you. So I get what they're saying. Cutting Social Security is a bad idea. And you might go, wait a minute, what? You're a libertarian. I am. You have to reform it to where it's gone. Social Security is a massive Ponzi scheme. But unless we're prepared to let literally 20 to 30 million more migrants into the country, make them citizens overnight and have them pay taxes for Social Security, we can't afford it, right? I mean, that is another option. Let 30 million migrants in, make them all green card or citizens, let them all pay all the massive taxes, and then they can pay for Social Security. That's option one. Now, that's only going to last till they retire. Then we're screwed again. So that would give us probably 30, 40 years, is my guess. Whatever that number is, right? We'll get another 50 years out of it. We do that. We don't do that. It's a Ponzi scheme. And you will hear people who love Social Security say, no, it's not. There's plenty of money in it. That is absolutely a lie. It is absolutely not solvent at all. That's not a thing. It can't be solvent. It's not a thing. The people today are paying for the people today. There's not a lockbox. It's not a trust. That's just stuff people say. Eventually, it goes out because you've run out of money. We're already, what, $34, $5 trillion in debt? I'm sure Mike knows this number already. But we're 30-something trillion in debt for sure, right? So it's just going to get worse. The answer is, how do you find a way to try to make people whole who've put money into it, right? And then somehow get rid of it over time to make an actual system that will work, that isn't a Ponzi scheme. And that's not easy at all. Can it be done? Of course. But oh my God, so hard. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's see. Thomas says, largest mass murder in Europe was by truck. I thought it was a van. Maybe it was a truck. If I remember, it was the last time I remember, it was in Nice, France. And it was a guy who had a van and ran over a bunch of his fellow students, like 60 or something like that. It was massive. And I've said that we need not truck control, Thomas, common sense truck control. All right? Get that straight. Not truck control. What are you, tyrant? Not that. It's common sense. And common sense means, how much can I get away with now? That is the definition of common sense. How far can I push it today? And once I get that, I wait a year and I see what I can push further. That becomes common sense. And then I push it further, and then that becomes common sense. I just keep pushing it forward. That's all I do. So yes, absolutely. So, all right. Let's see what's going on here. Joe has a quick joke. Who won the gun debate between Spike and Dave? Lily. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You're not wrong. She did. That was great. 100%. Yes. Phil says, Larry understands women in the press. Reporters are lazy and will take every easy lead you give them. True, right? The vast majority of people in the press are two things. Vast majority, two things. Remember this always. They are lazy and they are entitled. Those two things. So if you give them stuff, they publish it saying, see, look what I did. Philip is correct. Most of them are. Not all, obviously. And you know what? Let me adjust that. That goes for most people in the mainstream press. As you move into independent press, you see it. It is really, the independent people in the press really do bust their rump sometimes. You can see it. Like, they really go out of their way. Some of the best stuff you see is out of independent media. Some of the most in-depth, thought-provoking, so much of it is through independent media. I mean, really, they've made, and I think because they have to, there's an old, for those of you who remember, there used to be an Avis rental car commercial that said, we're number 2, we try harder. Because Hertz was number 1 and Avis was number 2. So they were like, see, number 2 is good for us because we try harder. And there's something true to that, right? The mainstream media is still sitting on its laurels from 30 years ago. They still think, well, whatever, I'm CNN or I'm New York Times, so, I'm cool, so I don't have to worry about these things. But independent press is like, no, I got to bust my rump today. I have to go do that. Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Dave says, RFK Jr. was in Iowa today, going to the convention office, the convention certificate route to get in the ballot in Iowa. He only needed 500 signatures from 25 counties. Those again might have been his goal. Yes, the RFK Jr. is trying to get in the ballot in all 50 states and DC, and he's out there doing it. So good for him. I hope he's able to make it. So let's see if I can do here. A libertarian lady says, I live in an area where guns were banned. I would teach self-defense, grappling, and knife skills so people could defend themselves with their knives. Oh, that's great. I like that. John says, the mall shooter in Indianapolis a few years ago was down by an open carrier in a gun-free zone. Yes, absolutely, yes. Joe says, we burning for VP. I have not decided yet, to be very full with you. People have been asking me that. I've already decided. I decided last year already. I'm not running for president. That's not a thing I'm doing. I will not be doing that. No, I cannot. I still got my ass kicked from my last governor race. I haven't recovered from that yet. I'm not prepared to do that at all. So that's a no. I said it before. I'm not backing out on that. No president. But I have been open to a VP. I have. So I'm open to the idea. I absolutely am. I haven't said yes or no yet, but maybe. I have to decide by May 23rd. So I will decide by May 23rd. That's my promise. I'll decide by. But I'm still open to the idea. I am. Yes. All right. AJ Rodriguez says police officers are crime responders, not crime fighters. Very valid point. Very valid point. I do like that. Yes, absolutely. Dave says in the omnibus bills, there's something for everyone. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And that's the point. Everyone to get something to give to the people who are supporting them, as well as everything for someone to have an ad against to call them a bad guy for whatever reason. So yes. And of course, Mike had the answer. Thank you, my friend. 34.65 trillion debt. I knew you would know that. And 214.5 trillion unfunded liabilities. Thank you. See, that was the word the phrase of unfunded. That's what all these entitlement programs are. They're unfunded liabilities. It's not a lockbox, right? It's not. And a lot of people believe it is a lockbox. They think, oh, no, they put money in it and there's money there waiting in like some bank or something to pay out. The amount of people who believe that is actually shocking to me. So some people believe that. It's not. It's just, I mean, I know particularly libertarians, some of you are very hardcore on this. You're like, stop this, it's not true, just end it, it's not real, blah, 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 right? I get it. And while you're right, the vast majority of Americans have believed the lie that Social Security is some kind of account. They say it. I paid into the system, so I got to get mine back. But they think like it's some kind of investment. And you're not going to hear anyone in the establishment tell them that that's not true. So of course they believe it. Well, what actually has happened is the government has defrauded them. I'm just being forward. That's what's happened. The government has not stopped. The government has allowed them to believe it's, remember, what was it, Al Gore? We're going to put it in a lockbox. Remember that thing? Made up. Just made up. Oh, your Social Security account, the benefits you've accrued. You haven't accrued any benefits. It's not a thing. So because of that, I think to make it fair, you have to somehow try to make people whole for all the people who put money into this. And then come up with a plan that will allow people to have their own retirement plans that will actually work, that are actually put into a lockbox. And you actually can have money when you're there. You can actually do it without having to go into 35 trillion, or 38 trillion, or 40, whatever the number is going to be when the time comes, right? So yes, Thomas is going to say Social Security isn't a savings account. Yes, it's insurance against retiring in poverty. Oh, I wish it was insurance, right? It's not really even insurance. It's a Ponzi scheme. In fact, what we could do, to your point, I would rather us have insurance. I'd rather it be insurance. And he goes on to say, so it should be means tested and contribution cap should be removed. No problem. I agree. Why not? Why not? If I'm going to put $1 million or $2 into my retirement account, why shouldn't I be able to? I agree. 100%. I'm with you. Absolutely. So Phil goes, wasn't the Social Security surplus of the 90s just spent in the 90s? Yeah, thank you. You remember. Thank you. You see, Phil remembers. Yes, Phil remembers. Exactly right. That was a surplus or whatever. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, of course. That's good. Andrew says, want to stop the shootings? Stop giving them the motive. Market it on your next campaign, Larry. Actually, if you remember, I spent a lot of time talking about that, right? People, this is back in 2018. And I said this actually on Joe Rogan. If any of you want to go back and watch that Joe Rogan event, that Joe Rogan show. Well, I was on it, so it wasn't a pandemic. So yes, when I was on Rogan, he asked me about that. And I said, remember something. It's not school shooters or whomever that is killing our children. There are 3 things killing our children. lack of purpose, lack of friendship and community, and loneliness. That's what's killing our kids, right? That's what's killing our kids. If they had those things, they wouldn't be doing it. There'd be no motive. People who have something to do don't go stabbing people or shooting people. They can't do it. They got stuff to do, right? I'm busy. I go do stuff. I have a job, or I have a girlfriend, or I have a boyfriend, or I have a family, or I have stuff to do. I can't go out shooting people. I can't go out stabbing people. I got stuff to do. I have a purpose in my life. And I remember, what was it? I think it was Lee Zeldin. I think it was that idiot who said, we're going to fix this. We're going to make a death penalty for people who shoot up schools or some whatever idiot thing he said. All these guys know their life is over. They know their life is over. They're either going to go in jail for life, or they're going to go out in a blaze of glory and be dead. Death penalty? How dumb. That's just virtual signaling garbage. It drives me crazy. That's just virtual signaling garbage. I'm so bothered by that stupid stuff. It's insanely dumb. So, any case, Dave says, police in New York took possession of a gun belonging to writer E. Jean Carroll. Yes. In February, after she said she had an unlicensed firearm at home. According to the police report obtained by NBC, that's true. That's true. So my question is, why didn't they kick her door in? Middle of the morning. Kick her in the middle of the night, early morning, kick in her door. Smash everything. Search everything. Make sure she didn't have any others. And then take her into custody. Why not? I would ask you a question. Serious. If somehow they had information that I had one in my home, I can guarantee you they would kick my door in, trash my entire home, find it, and take me away in handcuffs. How do I know that? Did it to Dexter. Remember that show I did with Dexter? Did it with him. Carbon Mike. Did it with him. Went in, took everything, put him in jail. He's on trial right now. As we speak, he's on trial right now. Absolutely, he's on trial right now. But she does it. We'll just confiscate it. Shut up. How come she's not doing 5 years in prison? Why didn't she plea bargaining down with her felony? Why didn't she? Because she said it in court. That's proof. Why isn't she? Yeah, here's the reason. And people can get mad when I say it, but I'll be very forward. She's an old white woman. I'm not joking. That's why. That's the reason. If she wasn't that, she'd be arrested. That's what it is. Wait, Larry, you saying that there's some privilege? There is. And she's also beating up Trump. Man, that helps a whole lot too. Just saying. So, yes, there we go. Absolutely. So, yeah, where I am in, you guys tease me because of the police background. Where I am in New York City, one of the things I would want to do if I ran for mayor, and it's going to sound crazy, but I think it's very important. Very important. The cops and the fire trucks and the ambulances are insanely loud for no damn reason. They're insanely loud for no damn reason. And lots of, well, people have headphones in. So what? You see flashing lights, don't you? What's wrong with this? Why do you have flashing lights? They have become insane in the last 10 years or so, insanely loud. So loud that there's a problem filming in New York now. There's a problem doing any sort of content in New York now because they're so damn loud. You can't have conversations in New York anymore, city, because it's so loud constantly. And if we get mad, well, don't you care if the people in the ambulance? You can see the flashing lights, you moron. It's fine. Nothing changes because they doubled this. Instead of trying to make things better, they just make things worse. It's a constant, again, more and more virtue signaling. We got to make it louder because people aren't listening. The beatings will continue until morale improves. The beatings will continue until morale improves. Constantly. It drives me craziness. Anyway, I have yapped away. Guys, if you like what I'm saying, do me a favor. Click the like button. Click the button that is like. The thumb up. Click the thumb down. I don't care. Click a button. I want the Al Gore rhythms to move forward. Right? If you're watching this on X or on Twitter, please repost this so people can see it. If you want to super chat me, you can on Large Up YouTube. And you can also become a member if you want to. Click that like button, that join button, $49 per month. Keeps me going. This is actually My 7th show this week. 7th this week. That's right. I have been bugging you. And I was a guest on 4 shows. I had 11 shows this week, about 16, 17 hours of live content that I put out here this week to get back in action. Next week, I'll be doing, I think, like 7. No, I'll be doing, I think, 6 shows myself and a guest of like 3. So I'll be giving tons of live content out there. That takes up a whole lot of time where I'm not working. I'm not working if I do that. So guys, hook me up. Either become a member or super chat, or at a minimum, retweet this and click that like button. That's free. Just do that. Retweet, like button. That's it. It's easy. No big deal. So yes. Alrighty. Mike says the problem with the sound is the frequency, i.e. crime and chaos up across the city. Even 70s, not this loud or chaotic. Also true. You're right. Literally every night. Every night. I live in Queens. I don't even live in a bad neighborhood. I live in a regular neighborhood in Queens. Every night, there is at least one of them going. All the time. Yes. So, Libertarian Lady says, Larry's on fire. The hardest libertarian on the planet. Thank you. Merlin says, just wait till you run for president. I don't know why you hate me, Merlin. I thought you liked me. Running for office, for those you don't know, running for office is punishment. I'm not joking. It's punishment. And generally speaking, you get nothing from it but debt and anger and regret and people mad at you. You don't really gain much from it, to be forward. You just have to keep going. But it is punishment, right? Joe's right there. He's like, yes, it is. Yeah, Joe knows. It is. It's punishment. So me running for office, and I tell the story often, but I'll keep telling it because I want people to understand that. When I ran for office in 2018, I first tried to get the VP slot in 2016. That's true. I dropped $5,000 of my own money on that campaign. It was only about a 4-week campaign. I was trying to stop Bill Weld in 2016. People are like, oh, Bill Weld was bad. Nobody spent more time and money trying to stop Bill Weld than I did. Nobody. There's not one person on this planet who tried to stop him more than I did. So I dropped $5,000, ran a 4 or 5 week local campaign just within the Libertarian Party, tried to become the party nominee. And I lost all my money and didn't win. Lost by 31 votes. And had people in the caucuses within the Libertarian Party, in the Pragmatic Caucus, who were mad at me for years. I'm not joking. They were mad at me for years because of me. How dare I try to stop Bill Weld? They held that against me for years. That's what I got for my first run. Then in 2018, I ran. And when I was done with that one, I got my butt kicked, but I got ballot access. What did I get for that? I was 6 figures in debt when I was done. So I couldn't stay very active in the party. I had to go back to work. I had to make up all that debt. I was heavily in debt at the end of that run. Not because I spent so much of my own money. I only spent $10,000 of my own physical dollars in that campaign. Still a lot of money, but only $10,000. The rest of the money came because I had to pay my bills and I couldn't work. So I didn't work for over a year. And I live in New York City, a wife and 2 kids with a wife who doesn't work. You can imagine what my bills were, which is why I was in so much debt at the end of that, right? I was super in debt at that point, super in debt at that point, but I got out of it. So I didn't run again until 2022. In 2022, when I ran, I raised much more money. And most of the national party literally abandoned me, just didn't give a damn. I'm sorry, go back first. So what did I get from the state after I ran? The state then just threw me off the ballot, just decided 2 years later, changed the laws, threw me off the ballot. So everything I'd worked hard for went away. Then that combined with the lockdowns, the New York State Libertarian Party just collapsed, utterly collapsed, totally collapsed. So the party I built up was gone, ballot access gone. I was in debt. I finally got out of debt, finally. So I tried running again, 2022. In 2022, what happened? Well, I went back into debt again. Half of the New York State Libertarian Party, half of them abandoned me. Half of the National Party abandoned me, put money into Alabama and into Illinois instead of me. Screwed me over on dollars. My vendors screwed me over. I got sued. Oh, just fucking terrible. Nothing but bad. Nothing but bad. I wish I hadn't run 2022. I lost friendships. I lost so many, and people still got mad at me, just so angry at me, thinking that I would do this on purpose. Like I would try to wreck my life on purpose. Like, oh yeah, I'm scamming. No, And then, and the people in the system who I thought I'd convinced that they would finally come on my side, all of them stabbed me in the back. Oh my God. All the parties stabbed me in the back. Not even the libertarians, the other parties stabbed me in the back too. Oh, terrible. Terrible. During that campaign, I had fallen into depression at least 4 times, just into a horrible depression. Didn't want to get out of bed. It was terrible. I fell into terrible depressions. Just horrible. Shelley, remember, she was there. She said, not true, Larry, you got sued, defamed, denied constitutional rights. Yes, that's what you get when you run. I got all of those things. So running is punishment. It destroys your family, your friends, and you just get yelled at. And I still just get scolded. People still mad at me all the time over this. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? You're a liar. I get that all the time still. So, people who say, well, Larry, you should run again. Yes, I should. I'm good at running. I am good at that. So all the shit behind it is terrible. But I am good at running. That's true. But it's really punishment. And I just couldn't do it this year. There's no way. Did I think about running for president this year? I thought about it. Of course I did. Of course I did. And last year I thought about it. I said, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it now. I just took a real good look at myself. And I said, there's no way I can handle this. Just no way. I'd be a basket case. No way. I couldn't do it. My finance would be destroyed. I'd be broke. I couldn't do it. There's no way. So that's why I said I am not running for president. I can't do it. It's that last one was devastating in every way it could possibly be. Completely devastating. Financially, emotionally, socially, devastating. So yeah, I'd have to. Maybe in 2026 I run again. Maybe I will. I'm open to the idea of running again. Maybe 2028. I'm open to these ideas. I'm not putting any of them out. Not this year. I'm not in a spot where I can do it. So yes, thank you for that. I kind of went long. I know I did. But it is a lot of punishment. And when I'm ready, maybe I might do it again. It's possible. So we'll see. So yes. All righty. Let's see here. Dave says, it really doesn't matter because people with loud music in a car still won't hear the sirens regardless. Correct. So why are we yelling? I'm with you. Yes. Shelley goes on to say, you are really good at helping other people. Thank you. I do try that. That's one thing I do a lot, right? I do try to help a lot. When I'm running, and this makes people mad again. People get mad at me for this. When I'm running, it's about me because I'm running. So it's about me, right? It's about me. Give me money, help me out because I'm running. But when I'm not running, you see it. I'm about others. You guys know this if you're watching. I do a show called Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live, right? That is only libertarians. I've done over 100, like 120 of them or something like that. I've done over 100 of them. What do I do when I do that? I talk to a libertarian. I help them raise money. I talk about them. I then go back and forth. And I share my platform. Not just that, I go to other places and raise money for other places all the time. I raise money all the time for other libertarian affiliates. I raise money for libertarian candidates. I fly out to where they are, and I just raise money for them all the time. It's a thing I do constantly. I coach people when they want to run. I give them advice. I help them put policy together all the time. I do help a lot of people run. It's true. I do. And I try to raise. I've actually raised over $500,000 for other people other than myself, for the parties and individuals, through all the time. So yes. All right, so I can grab a couple more of these. Dave says, Larry, your opponents will make suggestions about your party and infer that you believe the same thing, and then that stuff has to be true. Also true. Also true. You're right. So Joe says, my last campaign was mentally unpleasant. That's why I waited till I'm before fighting again. Brother, I get that. You and me, brother, simpatico. We totally get that. Yes, 100%. The problem is the Libertarian Party in the past, as broken as Libertarian Party is and has been, it is actually better now than it's been in certain ways. One of those ways, Joe, to your point is, if you go back 10, 20 years, most Libertarian candidates were just paper candidates, meaning they would just file and go home. They just would have a name on the ballot. They would do no work whatsoever. That was a thing that used to be true. That has gone away recently, right? That has gone away recently. And more Libertarian candidates are actually running campaigns. And because of the increase in ballot access issues, we're having to go out there and meet people to get signatures. So because we've been working harder, this is why it becomes so mentally unpleasant. People who've been around a party for 30, 40 years who remember back in the day when, well, I ran for something. What'd you do? Signed the paperwork and went home. That was running for something. Luckily, there's a lot less of that. And something else, there are a lot more of us who are running actual campaigns multiple times. That's happening more and more, and we're staying in the world. So I do think that's as tough as it is, as you say. I think that's why. So yes. Andrew says, I think what Milei is doing in Argentina is actually working. To be forward, I don't know. Andrew, I don't know. And what I said months ago when he was first elected, and I stand by this. I was on the show recently. I was on Pasta to Go. I was on that show recently, and he was beating up Milei horribly. He's beating him up. And I was like, look, wait a year. And that's what I'm saying. Give the man a year and see what happens. I said it when he first elected. I said, guys, please shut up. Just let him do his work for a year. Well, he did this one bad thing, which I knew he was going to do something bad, at least one, if not multiple. But understand something. He's in Argentina. He's not in America. Different country, different culture, and people can disappear there. There's only certain things he can do to ensure he doesn't have an accident. There's only certain place he can go and get certain things done. I'm just being real. That's how it works. So let's give him a year and then judge him. And if he sucks and screwed things up, we should call him out and say so. And if he didn't, we should say that too. The odds are he'll be a mixed bag. That's the odds, because that's what usually happens. Hopefully some of his libertarian things will have worked. We'll see. Some of it, he'll do some status stuff because he'll have to, because he's in Argentina and that's how it works. He will do some of that. We'll see what happens. That's how I look at it. I think we just give him a year and we see what happens, right? That's what I think we do. Give him a year, see what happens. That is my issue. So, well, this if I can. Oh, Missy's nice. She goes, you ran a good campaign, Joe. Yeah, well, because Joe cares, right? That's true. Joe cares. He's out there. He cares. He does. Libertarian Lady says, Larry also does Sharpe Way Radio Tuesday at 1 p.m. That is true. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern. I do several shows. I do 4 separate shows. And by the way, I'm now numbering them because you hadn't noticed. This is Sharpe Way number 437. Yes, I've done 437 Sharpe Way shows. I started in 2019. Yes. And then I got Harvey Shadow Band in 2020 and been struggling ever since. So I do Sharpe Way. I've done 437 of those, or 430, yeah, 7 of those. I also do the Sharpe Club, which is Monday night. That's my panel show every Monday night. I've done about 47 of those once a week, every Monday. I also do Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. That is usually on a Wednesday or a Thursday at 3 p.m. And that is Libertarians only. I've done about 120 of those. And I do Sharpe Way Radio, which is Tuesdays at 1 p.m. That one I've done, in fact, coming up here this Tuesday is my 200th show. Do that once a week. It's my 200th show. I started that several years ago also. So yes, I do 4 different shows every week. I use the multiples of the Sharpe Way show. That's the most common show. That's the one I do most of my stuff on. The rest are specialized shows. I do also have the Sharpe Crew, which I only do like 10 of those. But I do more of those. That was when I would grab Michael Voss and Dr. Charlotte Burnett, and we would do Thursday afternoons for that one. So I do mix and match here or there, but I do a lot of stuff. I do. The point was I wanted to do shows that people would enjoy and that people could keep talking about it, right? That's the piece that I wanted to do, that people could just talk about it again and again and again. That's what I was trying to achieve, but we'll see. We'll see. She goes on to say, Milei just met with Musk too. That could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing. I don't know. I don't know. Good for him, right? Good for him, right? I don't know. So, Libertarian Lady says, at Shelley, I pay no attention to the national. I only pay attention to my state and local LP. You know, I've kind of followed that in many ways. Like, people always ask me, what's up with the drama in the LP? And I always go, I don't know. I don't spend as much time doing that as I think some people do, right? They really spend a lot of time on that. I don't spend much time doing that. I mean, here or there, but not that much at all. Nationals, if I could have my way, right? Some of you get mad at the chair, and I get it. Chair makes mistakes, I understand. But something to remember, The chair of the Libertarian Party is not like the DNC chair or like the RNC chair. The RNC chair and the DNC chair get six-figure salaries. It's a full-time job for them. You know how much our chair gets, the LNC chair gets? Zero. That's correct. It's volunteer. So I would ask you, do you want to be the LNC chair? Do you want to have to travel all the times the LNC chair travels and get no reimbursement on your dime? You pay for it. Do you want to take all those phone calls, all those issues, deal with it, and deal with all those problems on your time, on your dime? Do you want to do that? That's why you can't get people jumping them down to become the chair. Literally, you just get punished for no return. None. You just get punished. It's worse than running for office. It's just bad. People say, Larry, why don't you run for chair? Because I have bills to pay. That's the reason why. I have bills to pay. Who would do it? People are saying, well, how come there are 445 people trying to become the chair? Because of what I just said. So while I can be mad at each chair, and I've been mad at every chair for some reason, I can't be that mad. They're literally volunteering to be punished. So I tend to be very lenient on chairs. I know some people get mad. No, I did a chair. No. I'm very lenient on all of them. I'm very lenient. It is just free to get hammered. That's all it is. It's just free to get hammered. So I tend to be okay. Do what you want. But if I could be chair and I could make the magic rules, or I had the magic power to do whatever it was, if I had that magic power to do the stuff that I could do, I would make the LNC just do one thing and one thing only: ballot access. Focus on ballot access. In fact, I would take, and this is controversial, but I would take the entire party plank. Again, this is if I was chair and they gave me that power. The chair does not have that power, so the chair can't just do that. But because people are asking me this, if I could do it, if I had the magic powers, or they all of a sudden said, hey, let's change the rules and make the chair a dictator. If that were true, I would completely remove our entire party platform. I would have just basically the preamble, and everything else is ballot access. That's all I would do. I wouldn't care about messaging. I wouldn't care about any. The party platform is each individual candidate has their own platform. That's the platform. What's the Libertarian answer to that? Talk to that individual candidate. They will tell you. Each candidate has their own platform, whatever they're doing. That's what I would do if I could magically become the chair, dictator, or the LNC or whatever. That's what I would do. So there we go. Hope that was clear. Sorry, support for Ukraine. That's not even close to a priority for me, to be very forward with you, at all. Sadly for Ukraine, I think, and people get mad at me when I say it. Whenever I say this, guaranteed if someone is a hardcore Ukraine supporter, they will always go, yeah, Putin puppet or whatever. They will always attack me. Even though I'm not attacking them at all, and I'm not a Putin puppet. I don't care about Putin either. But I'm sure someone's going to yell Putin puppet. It's fine. It happens every time. It's not a priority for me at all. And I think that Ukraine is completely screwed. And the example I'll give you when it comes to Ukraine, and I'm trying to give this example if I can, to see if you'll understand my logic when I say this. Imagine I'm in Queens where I live, and in Queens there is a bad cop in Queens. Bad cop. We all know he's a bad cop. He's the bad cop. I'm not attacking cops. This cop is a bad cop, and we know he's a bad cop. He's a terrible cop. He's stationed in Queens. I can't get rid of him. That's who he is. We know he's a bad cop. Well, I have to go run errands in Queens, so I run errands in Queens. And while I'm running errands in Queens, the bad cop sees me and goes, hey, you, he's in my phone, and yells at me and says, you are taking pictures of me. You are taking pictures of me, and you're trying to hurt me. And he grabs my phone, smashes it on the ground, pulls out his gun, pistol whips me, breaks my nose, drops it on the floor and says, I'm taking you to jail. I'm taking you to Rikers Island, the most violent jail in the entire country. And it's Friday. And you might actually be stuck there over the weekend in a place where things like gang assaults in more ways than one are possible. Should I fight back? Should I defend myself against this? It is not my fault. This guy is 100% wrong. This cop is 100% wrong. I'm in the right. I did nothing wrong. I happen to be in his area. And I was just, my property was destroyed. I'll never get back. I'm physically broken. I will never recover. There will be scars on my face forever. And I'm about to go to jail where I'll probably be assaulted multiple times. And I'll never recover from that. Ever. I will have scarring. I will have trauma the rest of my life. Should I fight back? And the answer is no. Because if I fight back, it will be worse. If I fight back against that cop, if someone gives me a knife or gives me a gun, gives me a bat, and I fight back against that cop, while I would be right to do so, because that cop is wrong, and people saw it, I would be best to not fight back. Because if I fight back, that cop might kill me. If I fight back, I'm going to jail for at least 5 years for sure. I'm not going to get out right now. I will eventually get out, probably have some kind of recovery on something, probably, maybe. I fight back, I might die. I'm sure going to get my butt beat worse, and I'll probably do at least 5 or 10 years in jail for assaulting the cop who sets me arrest. Liars, terrible example. I feel like Ukraine's in that spot. Ukraine did nothing wrong. Wrong place, next to Russia, and Russia decided it's doing its thing for whatever reasons. Mad at America, NATO, whatever they thought. Russia decides doing it, and there was no win for Ukraine. And I think there's no win for Ukraine at all now. Brave people fought, thousands died, and I think in the long run, and I said this a year ago. I said this on Dylan Burns' show a year ago. He got mad at me, and his chat roasted me on this. But I still say it. I said it last year, I say it again. I think it'll happen this year. I think this year there'll be a peace treaty, and Ukraine will lose a bunch of land. And I think there was no way they were not going to lose it, because nobody was going to fight Russia, no matter how wrong Russia was. No one was going to fight them. And this is not Ukraine's fault. Everything Ukraine did, it was because the West encouraged Ukraine to do it. The average Ukrainian didn't want to fight this war. I can guarantee you that. The average was like, yeah, I can't wait to fight Russia. The average did not want this at all. The West pushed Ukraine into this, while the East pushed their views in Ukraine. This is a proxy war, and Ukraine is just getting destroyed. This is Vietnam all over again. The Vietnamese didn't want to fight their war. The Vietnamese didn't want to fight anything. The Vietnamese people don't want to fight. That was East versus West, using Vietnam as a terrible proxy war. And this is Ukraine, terrible proxy war. Vietnam was screwed. Ukraine is screwed. And it sounds bad. It's just true. I wish I had a better answer for you. Us getting involved is dumb. The more time we get involved, the more Ukrainians and Russians die. For the exact same outcome, whether it's this year or next year, whatever it is, more Ukrainians die. More Ukrainians die. I don't want more Ukrainians and Russians to die. That's my view. And if people don't like it, they're going to call me a Putin puppet or whatever. I don't like it. So yes, my the Ukrainians don't want to fight, but we do. I get it. And what I'm saying is, I would have rather, and it's not Ukrainians' fault. Star Wars Girl 19 says it's Ukraine plenty wrong. Okay, Ukraine's fault. Let me be very clear. Ukraine leadership, yes, right, yeah, but the average Ukrainian, no, you're wrong. The average Ukrainian wasn't like, I can't wait to fight Russia. They don't want to fight Russia. They want to live their lives. Maya is correct. The average Ukrainian just wants to protect their family. They don't want to fight. They'd rather just have a life and go do their things. So Ukrainian leadership made the error of listening to the West. They shouldn't have. They should have made some kind of deal, which, by the way, would have sucked for some Ukrainians. To be clear, it would have sucked for some Ukrainians. But if you would have, what the West should have done is try to negotiate to get the people who didn't want to be in those areas to get out of those areas. Maybe even all the billions we sent to drop bombs. Why couldn't we send those billions over there to get people to move who didn't want to be in those Russian areas? Give them a chance. Hey, how about a move or whatever? We could have found an answer, but the answer we decided was bombing the hell out of Ukraine and killing tons of people. That was the answer we came up with, right? Gabe was Putin's fault. His fault too. Yes, absolutely. The leadership you always hear me say this, and maybe it's because I'm a Marine. Maybe it is. But I will always have a special place for the actual soldier on the ground, because I was one of them. I would have done, when I was in the Marine Corps, I would have fought in any war that Ronald Reagan would have told me to fight. He was my commander-in-chief. I would have shot people. I would have ordered men to their death. I would have died myself. I would have done all of that. Why? Because I believe that was right. Do I think that the average Russian soldier thinks he's wrong? No. Do I think the average Ukrainian soldier thinks he's wrong? No. I don't think so at all. I mean, I'm sure there's monsters on both sides. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's monsters on both sides. But I don't think any of them is like thinking that they're individually doing the wrong thing. I don't think so. Their leadership? Of course they know. Of course they do. They're making a killing. Do you see how much money Ukrainian oligarchs put in their pocket? And Russian oligarchs too. They're all putting in their pocket too. Of course. They're all putting money in their pocket. Meanwhile, the average person on the ground is having their legs blown off, arms blown off, blowing people up, bombs landing everywhere. Now the Russians are bombing power plants. People aren't going to have lights, not going to have hospitals. For what? The Ukrainian government should have just negotiated this with the Russian government, should negotiate it, and America should have gotten it and said, you know what? Let's negotiate. Let's find an answer. You don't want us to, we decided in our brilliance, America, our brilliance, here's what we're going to do. We're going to sanction the Russians. We're going to weaponize the dollar to ensure that de-dollarization goes even faster in the world. And the Russians find other ways of making money and get closer to China, closer to India. That was our brilliance. Making bricks something, that was our brilliance. They're going, we won't do that. We won't do that if we actually negotiate. That's the issue. So you guys can be mad at me if you want to. This was negotiable. It should have been negotiated. The leadership didn't do it. And I blame all of them. They're all making money. All the leaders are making money while the average person just gets screwed. And it's here in America too. I mean, we're not getting bombed at least. That's one thing we have. Ukrainians are getting actually bombed. Like they're literally having their arms and legs blown off. At least we're not getting that. So we got that part. So anyway, let me go down there a couple of days. I said I'd answer the question. I did. I know some of you probably didn't like my answer, but that's how I feel. I would have never done that. So he says, we need to demand congressional approval for every war, proxy or not. Yes. You know what? This should be a rule. We can't even supply weapons as a government unless we declare war. You want to let individual people do it? Do what you want. I don't care. Absolutely. Maya says, I have a friend who was a bakery boy. Now he's in the army. That's terrible. Terrible. Now, unless he personally wanted to go fight, okay. If he wanted to be a soldier, I get it. But I have a feeling that he thought I have to fight, I defend my family versus making money for his family and building a life and having family and friends every day. It's terrible. I don't like that. Star Wars Girls 19 says they should have stopped shelling their own people as they agreed. Sure, then we should have stopped that. Why didn't we do that instead? Instead of threatening them that if they invade, we'll do X, Y, Z, which is what we did, Biden was completely incompetent in this. He was utterly incompetent. Or the reverse. He was either incompetent or did perfectly what he wanted to do, and he wanted this the whole time. So I can't be sure on that. I shouldn't say that because this might have been the plan, right? I can't be sure. Larry, was the plan war? These guys don't care. I hope none of you think that any of these leaders actually care about their people. They don't. If you care about your people, you don't have their arms and legs blown off. You don't do that for nothing. For a war that you know you can't win. You know you can't win. There is literally no way the Ukrainians march on Moscow. No way. Could the Ukrainians have held more land? I think that's possible. Yes, I think that is possible. Could they have held more land? Perhaps. Sure, I think that would be a possible outcome. But there was no way they were going to invade Russia and take Moscow or whatever. It's never going to happen. Impossible. There's no way Putin would take it. The Russians wouldn't take it. The Chinese wouldn't accept it. Never going to happen. And how do I know that? Israel. Back in 1973 or 67, I forgot which one. 73 war. Israelis ready to march on Cairo. That's when one steps in and goes, no more war. Stop the war. Stop the war. What? We're getting ready to march on Cairo. End this thing. Nope. Stop the war. War stops. Same thing would happen. If for some reason Ukraine was going to march on Moscow, stop the war. Then all of a sudden we would have stopped it. Guaranteed. Because that's how it always works. Ukraine, sadly, is Vietnam. It's Afghanistan. It's another place that the West and East have put together as a proxy war to destroy in our massive back and forth chess game. It sucks. Patty says, my friend in Romania says it's all wrong. Correct. Yep. Her country went through this when she was a child and lived through it all before with Romania and wrote a book about it. Oh, interesting. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. Maya says, Russians have killed thousands and thousands of Ukrainian people, men, women, and babies. I've seen it with my own eyes. I believe you. I totally believe you. I totally believe you. Yes. So, all right. Andrew says, support the people in their countries and the governments. Maya, if you think that I'm saying Putin is a good guy, I'm not. But I don't think Zelensky is a great guy either. I think he fell for what the West told him. And the West either lied to him or he's part of the corrupt system. I don't know which one of them. So he's either corrupt or foolish, one or the other. He has made a mistake, a horrible mistake, or he's corrupt. Again, I don't know enough to know which one he might be, but he's one of those two. And Putin is just corrupt, of course. I mean, Putin is probably the richest man in the world, has people killed. Of course, he's a bad guy. Of course he is. But as unfair as the world is, it's the way it is. I can't stop that. I wish that I could, but I can't. We have to realize where we are, if that makes any sense. I hope that's clear at least. I get people don't like it. I'm just trying to be very clear on what it is. So, all right. I noticed you will not want to discuss the no warrant vote. Did you? What do you mean? This is not a Larry decides things. This isn't ask me anything. If you want me to talk about it, just do what you just did. I didn't decide to talk about Ukraine. Somebody put it there. So I talked about it. You put this there. I'll talk about it. It's the AMA. So yes. The reason why I didn't lead with it or something, I'll start with it, is because, of course, of course, for anyone to think that the Republicans and the Democrats don't want to spy on us, what do you think the TikTok ban is about? What is TikTok ban about? They're like, well, the Chinese and they're this and that. No, that's not what it's about. That's what they're telling you. It's not what it's about. It's about the U.S. government getting control of all the TikTok data and controlling everything. But Larry, the government is going to buy it. No, but an American company will, which will fold directly whenever the U.S. government tells them to give them stuff. That's all it is. This is making sure the data isn't owned by the Chinese and it says owned by American companies so the American government can get it. I'm not even joking. You might go, well, is it better Americans have it? No! I don't care how controversial this is. The Chinese can't put me in jail. The Chinese can't take my company. The Chinese can't take my property. The U.S. government can and will whenever it chooses so. So I don't want to having any information. Nothing. When is possible? Because you can use it against me. Oh, use a Patriot against somebody else? Use it against me. What are you going to use this thing for? Somebody else? No, against me. There's no way. And when I say me, I mean us. I don't mean me personally, but it probably used against me personally, I would guess. But of course. So why would I match anything else? All the deep state wants, or the permanent Washington, whatever you want to call it, they want all the data to put us away. They literally said the Fourth Amendment gets in the way of us doing our job of keeping you safe, whatever the hell that means. So, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. Of course that was going to go through. The police state gets bigger and bigger. And the worst part is so many Americans are like, yeah, we got to stop the bad guys. The bad guys are us. The phone call is coming from inside the house. There is literally, and I know people think I'm crazy, but I'll define it by, give me this. Who, what group, what army, what military is prepared to invade us? None. There's not one. None. Not one. Zero. There is zero group of people who are going to invade us. We have a bigger worry with cyber attack, bigger worry with nuclear attack, bigger worry with people coming over our border than we have some army attacking us. So why do I care? Why do I care? I don't mean to be mean, but I'm telling the truth. I'm far more worried about the American government than some other government. Far more worried about some other government. Not even close. So of course they would spy on us. Republicans, when it comes to this kind of thing, Republicans have much better rhetoric. Usually, Democrats have better rhetoric. What does that mean? They lie better. usually Democrats usually lie better than Republicans. Usually. Their rhetoric is nice and flowery. They usually lie better. In cases like this, Republicans lie better. Because it's all about America. Yeah, that's what they talk about. But it's not about that. So in this case, Republicans lie better. Usually Democrats lie better. But they're all about this, and then they just do the same old thing. So anyway, I'm not sure they believe their lies. I don't think anyone believes their lies anymore, but they keep doing it. So anyway, I hope that was clear. I don't have a problem talking about this at all. So yes. Patty says, our government wants war. Sorry, both wings of our bird are pro-war. Yes. And one of the reasons why is because most of our growth now, sadly, is all through government spending. And what war does outside of us, right, is it allows the government to keep spending. They'll say this openly. We're going to give whatever, $100 billion to Ukraine or whatever the number is, right? And they're going to say, well, 80 of that billion comes back to us in orders for weapons. But wait a minute. That's government money we gave them. Yes. So the government's just paying our people to build something of it. Yes. So it's government spending. Well, no, it's foreign aid. No, it's government spending. It's money laundering government spending. That's all it is. You're money laundering the government spending. Oh, the government's not spending money. Yes, it is. It's just money laundering it through Ukraine, or money laundering it through Vietnam, or money laundering it through Iran, or through Israel, or insert country there. They're all just money laundering. That's all it is. Which is why I feel so bad for countries like Ukraine and Vietnam. We're just using them to launder money. So yes, you are correct. Johnny says, nobody wants to fight a war, let alone their own backyard. If the Afghanistan withdrawal is an indication of incompetence, everyone is our friend when we foot the bill and money and blood. It's a valid point, right? It's a valid point. I think you're right, Johnny. I mean, the only person who wants to fight a war is someone who thinks of being attacked. That's it. Of course. Star Wars girl, the West lied to him and he's corrupt. I believe you. I don't actually know. I believe you. That tracks. I believe that. My point is, though, we lied to him. We acted like we had his back. We never had his back. And there is no way that America actually thought, wow, the Ukrainians will invade Russia. There's no way they thought that. But they try to make us believe that. They try to make him believe that we would defend no matter what. That we'd bomb the Russians or whatever. And we were never going to do any of that stuff. That was never going to happen. It's terrible, right? It is terrible. Larry, at what point do the people of the world decide war is not a solution and actually make things worse, or is the world doomed to blow itself up? I think we're in trouble. Right now, what's happening now, I don't know how it's working. Grace says that World War III is trending, and I can see why. Of course. Aren't the Iranians like bombing Israel or something now? Something like that's happening. I just saw like a bit of it before I came on. But something like that's happening. Aren't there like some missiles going back and forth, right? And now we're like, what are we going to do now? Why are we involved? Why are we involved? Since this is a problem that America has that we've had for a long time. At least 60 years we've had this problem. At least 60, if not more. We live in the past. And I mean that. As a nation, we live in the past. Like we're like, well, we got to help them. Why? Because we helped Europe with the Nazis in 1945. Yes, 80 years ago. So one time we did the right thing and it worked. So now we have to be involved in every war because every bad guy is now Hitler? That's what they say. Every bad guy. They call him Hitler. Why? Because in World War II it worked. So therefore we should do it every single time everybody's Hitler. No. World War II is an anomaly. To your point, Betty, every other war we've gotten involved with, things have gone terribly. To include World War I. To include that. Every time we get involved in a foreign war, it goes worse, except World War II, and that's the only one we talk about because it's the only good one. And when I say only, I mean the only one. There is no World War II if we don't get involved in World War I. That's our fault. I don't care if that's controversial. That's 100% true. If we don't get involved in World War I, the German Empire, not Nazi Germany, wins World War I. If they win World War I, we don't know what would have happened, but there's no Nazi Germany because there's no Hitler. There's something else, whatever that is. Probably some monarchy, probably some big empire, probably some imperial fight with the Russians and the Germans or something. But there's no Nazis. That doesn't exist. There may be some other fascist issue might have popped up, but there's no Hitler. There's no World War II. There's no World War II. That doesn't happen. Who knows what timeline that is, but it isn't that timeline. That's cause us. That's cause us. We don't get involved. Imperial, not Nazi, Imperial Germany wins World War I. We got involved in that, screwed it all up. Screwed up Korea. Korea is not unified because of us. Because of us. We screwed up Korea, so we screwed that one up. Screwed up Vietnam. Put them 10, 20 years behind because we fought that war. Screwed up Afghanistan. They're 10, 20 years behind. Screwed up Iraq. Screwed the whole Middle East up. Every war we get involved in makes things worse. They're still fighting Yugoslavia. We got involved in it. It's still fighting. They're still war in Kosovo to this day. It's like in the 90s. Still fighting. None of it works. Ever. And we keep thinking the answer is us getting involved because one time it worked, which we caused. But still, we fixed it. So we fixed the mistake we made, and now we think every war is a good war. None of them are good. They're all bad. Leave them alone. If we would stop fighting, things would be better, not worse. Better, not worse. George Washington told us to not do this, and we ignored him. He told us that I had political parties, and we ignored him. He was right. And we still ignore it. And we go, oh, George Washington, we worship him. He's so awesome. But we will listen to nothing he says. All right. Anyway, I hope I went far enough on that. I think we're in trouble. We have to stop. We have to start funding peace, and we're about peace, and stop fighting war. Just isn't. So anyway, I'm sorry. Joe says, blatant Fourth Amendment violation, and it's both parties, elected officials, heavily in favor of infringement. 100% yes. New York is spying on us. Yeah, openly. They passed that new law, right? They now can check all your social media now, New York State. Yes. And New York was like, yep, we're good with that. People, yeah, because the bad guys. It's going to just screw you over. But we keep thinking it's all good. It's not. It's not. Literally says, thank you, always having the conversations. I had put it in the chat twice earlier. I definitely thank you for your breakdown. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Of course. Yes. Thank you. I'm happy to chat about these things. I'm just trying to find, I'm getting a lot of comments. And by the way, I see comments from YouTube, from Facebook, from X. I see all of them. I'm trying to grab the ones I can as they zip by me. So I do miss them sometimes. So I keep trying to, grab each one of them as I can. So yes. So if I can grab this. Grace says, Beijing has no interest in us here. In this case, I think you're right. China does have a lot of interest in this, but not in this case. China itself, for those of you who don't know, is about to have a crisis similar to us, and that's a real estate crisis, right? Similar to us. The real estate crisis for them is more residential. Ours is commercial. Both are self-inflicted wounds. China has decided that it wants to just push. In China, you don't get to have private land property in China. All the property belongs to the Chinese government, all of it. So you cannot buy land in China. It's not how it works. Some people don't know this. In China, what you do is you basically lease the land from the government for, 100 years, something like that. That's how you do it. So companies have done it. And local municipalities, to make money, have said, oh, we can make money this way, so we'll lease out our land too. So everyone's leasing out land and releasing out land and releasing out land so they can build up so they can buy it and get mortgages on this land. And it became a bubble, and it's a massive bubble now. A massive bubble. You've heard of stories of like empty Chinese cities. I don't know how real every these cities are, but the point is there are massive amounts of land that can't be used. Their real estate companies may go under. It's one of the reasons why they have their CBDC, their central bank digital currency, because China's in trouble in that regard, right? That is right. That's a problem, right? For sure. And we're having it with our commercial real estate, also self-inflicted wound. Our lockdowns destroyed our commercial real estate, just destroyed it. Now, commercial real estate was already suffering, and it was slowly going to decline anyway. But if it declined slowly, that would have given landlords and such time to shift and adjust to get to whatever the new norm was. The lockdowns meant to happen like that. People left and didn't come back and aren't coming back. And literally will say, I'm not coming back. No, I'm not working. No, I quit. If I come back, I quit. And bosses are like, oh, you're not coming back then. It's fine. How about once a month? How about once a week? Now you have a lot of people now who used to have permanent space. It's rare nowadays in New York City specifically to have permanent space. What does that mean by that? It used to be you go to the office, you've got your desk and your time and your space, whatever. Now there's like 8 desks and come in once a week, and whatever desk is open is now your desk. It's like that. So it's changed tremendously. That's also another self-inflicted wound happening here too. So that is a big problem. So in this case, China's not interested, but China is interested in us, but for different reasons. China is competing against us, no doubt. They are, but not when it comes to TikTok. They don't care who owns TikTok. That isn't their thing. That's not a thing they're fighting. I completely agree. So yes. All right. Grace says, China cannot beat us in a land war. If they invade us, they cannot, because they can't physically get here. But in an actual land war, like over in China, they would demolish us. I mean, they would demolish us. Why? Let me give you a reason why. If there was some kind of invasion, they have no chance of invading us, because they would have to bring literally millions upon millions of soldiers across the sea or across the air. They would have zero chance of doing that. Our Navy would destroy them. Our Air Force would destroy them. They have no chance of getting people over here to invade. And I mean zero chance. It's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. No matter what. Even they had spies here. It's impossible. Never going to happen. However, if we were going to fight them, like say we're going to land troops in Russia and fight them in Mongolia or something, they would devastate us. Why? Their population is just so much larger. They could literally, at our height, the largest army America's ever had, if I remember right, it's World War II. I think it's 12 million people. 12 million in our military doing World War II, the largest ever, 12 million. If we fought them at 10-1, meaning 10 Chinese soldiers died for one of us, we would lose all 12 million of our soldiers. They lose 120 million soldiers. They will replace them all within 6 months. Within 3 months. They replace half in 3 months, half next. They will replace 120 million soldiers by force in their population within 6 months. We could never get 12 million soldiers together in 6 months. Impossible. Never do it. We couldn't get 12 million. Over time, we would just lose. There's just too many of them. And we're seeing that right now in Russia, by the way. We're seeing that in Russia, in the Ukrainian war. Why is Russia able to still win? Because the reality is, in today's warfare, while smart weapons are important, they always are important and will be important. How many straight up bombs can you make? How many bullets can you make? China can make a whole lot, because they'll just go, you're not making iPhones anymore. You're not making bullets because I said so. You don't do it. I'll put a bullet in you. So it comes to a land war on their turf. We absolutely lose. Not even close. We absolutely lose. When it comes to land war coming to us, we absolutely win. It's night and day, both sides. The number of Chinese will simply outgun us, and we would never be able to put 10. We only have 2 million people max in our military now. 2 million. They have 1.4 billion people. They could put, if they wanted to, and they have the resources and the force to do so, they could put 300 million people in uniform within 6 months. That's our entire population. Just imagine that. And if they lost 300 million people, China could still function as a nation. Their workforce would still function. They could still function as a nation and put another 100 million people into a uniform in 6 months. If we lost 10 million Americans, our economy would be devastated. We need workers, just for workers. Have to put another 10 million into the army? You see that now with Israel. And again, I'm not making this up. You see it now. It's happening now in Israel. Israel only has 9 million people. And they try to put 300,000 of them into the military to fight. It's hurting their economy. They need workers. They need people to do the economy, right? Someone's got to do stuff. They can't and they got to pay them. So if they pay the people to be in the military, which they didn't have a budget for, most of their military is the reserve military. It's not an active duty military. Most of the military is reservist. So these people all have jobs. So now they got to all come lose their jobs. So the people who are paying them have to keep paying. The government has to keep paying so they can go fight. 300,000. Well, what if they go fight Iran? There's 90 million Iranians, something like that? 80, 90 million Iranians? Something like that. I think 80 million. 80 million Iranians? How you going to fight them? You got 9 million Israelis. You ain't going to fight that war. You can't win that war. I don't care. 10-1. Everyone is right. 10 Iranians died. Doesn't matter. You can't win that war. Ask Saddam Hussein. He used chemical weapons to beat the Iranians. And it was horrible. It was like 5-1 or 6-1. The Iranians to Iraq during that war was like 4 or 5-1. Iranians died for compared to Iraqis. They were doing human wave, and they were dying left and right. He couldn't win that war. So I don't mean to be a nudge, but I'm just being very forward. We see it happening in Russia right now. Russia is one of the largest militaries on the planet, has modern tanks, modern warfare, modern everything. And they're not sweeping through the Ukrainians. They're winning, but not sweeping. This isn't World War I where you're blitzkrieging through stuff. No. They're slowly slogging through every village, every town. And they're having to, the worst part about Ukraine, and we're back in Ukraine again, is that literally these cities and towns are being flattened. They're flattening these towns. There's like nothing left. It's terrible. I yapped away. This is your fault, Grace. You made me talk so much. That's it. So yes, I'm gonna grab a couple more if I can. All righty. Larry, what does the Libertarian Party president nominee need to go for the win? Communication, technology, declare it openly. No, president nominee to go for the win. Do you mean to get the nomination, or do you mean to get the presidency? The presidency, the only possible chance we have to win. To be forward with you, there is a chance. It is very slim, to be very forward, but it does exist, right? It's a very, very, this is like me winning the lottery, but it does exist, David, it does. What would have to happen is we would have to be able to get out and focus on a couple of states early on. I think Lars Mapstead's plan is exactly the right plan. I think it is exactly the right plan. It's the plan I wanted Gary Johnson to do back in 2016. He disagreed with me, didn't do it. The plan I wanted Joe Jorgensen to do, she didn't want to hear it either. It's the plan I told most of the guys, they don't want to hear it. Only Lars wants to hear it. Lars is correct in this one. You focus on trying to get a couple of small states or some electoral votes, as this case, Maine and Nebraska. You focus on those two. Once you do that, the press will pick it up. When they pick it up, that gives you the momentum to get other stuff. I did it in New York State. I went to the places where most people don't go to. Local people picked it up. I became popular across the state. It's happening already. RFK Jr. is doing it, and people are picking it up. The idea is called the contingent election. If neither of the two major parties get 270 electoral votes, it goes to the Congress, and the Congress has to pick a compromise candidate. The reality is right now that compromise candidate will probably not be Libertarian nominee. It'll probably be RFK Jr. right now. It looks like he's number 3. So it'll probably be him. He'd be the one to get be the compromise candidate. So what would have to happen is we'd have to get very close to the end. RFK Jr. would have to drop out at like October. As I said, David, this is a very much of a stretch. I'm being clear. It's very much of a stretch, but it does exist. This is lottery. So he'd have to be focusing on certain states to win. Meanwhile, Libertarians and Greens are focusing on states to win. Then in like October, RFK, whatever, drops out, either endorses, nobody endorses either Libertarian or the Green Party. And then we take those states and it goes to the election. We become number 3 and then we win. I know that was crazy, but you asked. That is our pathway to victory. It is insanely slim, but it exists. I'm just telling you, there is a way for us to win. That's the way. But if we don't win, we get close. Because even if we get gold on the map, getting gold on the map in itself is going to, 1, get people to notice us, see that we're real, right, whatever that is. And of course, more importantly, as we start moving towards the election, we will get coverage. How do I know? It's already happening. It's already happening. Nothing I'm saying is I'm just making up. It's already happening. So I hope that was clear. I hope I answered the question you wanted me to answer. So, all right. Jim says, remember what General Eisenhower said in his farewell speech, beware the military-industrial complex. Yep. We're about to be bent over again. 100% true. Yes, Jim, I wish you were wrong. We don't listen when we don't like what we hear. We just don't listen. Guys, before I keep going, I want to grab some more. Please click the button that is like. I'm answering the questions you give me. I said it's AMA. I'm answering. I hope I'm giving you good answers. I'm telling you what I honestly think. I hope it's interesting for you as we go back and forth. If it is, click the button that is like. If you're watching on Twitter or X, retweet this right now. I know some of you are. I see your comment. You're on X. So do it. Retweet it right now. If you want your comment to go to the front so I don't miss it, super chat it. It goes right to the front and do not miss it. If you're watching Larry Sharpe YouTube, super chat it so I can see it. If you want to support the channel, and I hope you do, then become a member. Click that join button if you would. Click that join button. $49 per month keeps me going again and again and again. Let me grab some of these if I could. All righty. So many of these, I love it. All righty. Matt says it'd be a lot cooler if isolationism was trending. I don't want to be an isolationist, Matt, and I'm gonna be a nudge on this. We're not isolationists. We're non-interventionalists. It's a nuance, but I think that distinction does matter. When you hear isolation, people get upset. I want to be a non-interventionist. Our interventions simply don't work. Andrew says, does early territorial 1800s expansion count as intervention? Just asking your friend. You know what? It's a very good question. And I think if we lived in the early 1800s, what would we think? It's a good question, right? I'm not sure if I have the right answer. I think philosophically, no, right? Philosophically, we wouldn't want to do that unless the people were voluntarily joining in some way, right? If they were asking to be part of our country or asking to be a state, I think then that would be 100% okay, right? If the Native American nations, and they weren't, but in theory, we're talking theoretically, if the Native American nations were asking to be part of America, asking to be part of our states, I think it'd be totally fine, right? They're voluntarily joining. That would be totally fine. The other issue, though, is, and it sounds horrible, but then if you're there, if not us, who? Is there an argument for self-defense? And Andrew, I don't know. This is me just spitballing here. I could be off on this because if we didn't take it, the Spanish would have. If we didn't take it, the French would have. If we didn't take it, the Russians would have. So is there an argument for self-defense that for our own safety, we had to do a preemptive strike? I don't know. I could see somebody arguing that, saying, wait a minute, look, if we don't take it, the French are going to take it. And then they're just going to do, they're going to do it. They're going to do their, colonization. So ours is better colonization. I can see the argument for that. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I feel like we have to, what would we think when we were there? Right? I try to judge people by their peer group. I don't know well enough what people were thinking then. Were they thinking this was a bad idea? It's a good question. I think I could see an argument either way. I could. I know that, if I was Native American, I'd be like, no, it's a terrible idea. Clearly, right? Native Americans were slaughtered horribly, land stolen, obviously. So, of course. But would it have been worse under the Spanish? And does that matter? Would it have been worse under the French? Would that have mattered? I don't know. So, John says, did they claim World War II was the war to end all wars? They did not. They claimed World War I was the war to end all wars. That, by the way, was not true, in case you didn't know. But that's what they said. So yes. Let's see here. NNY Liberty says, didn't learn from the French in Vietnam or the Soviets in Afghanistan. Correct. Yes. Learn nothing. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Joe says, now war heroes win elections who keep the war industrial complex going. Also true. Yes. Very good stuff. You guys are good. I like that. That's good. All righty. How's the congestion tolls working out? They aren't yet. They will. And they will be a disaster. The congestion pricing is going to be a disaster. And it will be a total disaster. I'm so disappointed. How do I explain how I feel? It is so obvious how New York State politicians do not care. And it's probably everywhere, but I know New York State. Just do not care about the people. I mean, at least I think at one point in my life, it felt like they were trying to lie to us and act like they did. Like they were trying to do that. Now we don't even get that. They don't care about us at all. They hate us. They just punish us. and we're leaving, right? You would think it reminds me of a store owner who is mad. I remember I saw it's one of those. Oh my gosh, if I remember the name of the TV show. Is it Kitchen Nightmares? Is that what it was? I think it was Kitchen. It's one of those. It was one of those chef shows. Chef Gordon Ramsay comes in to fix the restaurant, right? Comes in to fix the restaurant. And I remember him going to some restaurants. He's going to come in and fix them. And the owner, or owners, but in this case it was the owner, was just like, no, you're wrong. Everything was failing. Nobody's coming to his restaurant. He can't keep work. He's losing money like there's no tomorrow. He's like, no, it's working. And the guy's like, dude, there's no one in the kitchen. There's no one out there. No one's eating your food. You're in debt. You're losing money. What's wrong with you? It's not working. And the guy's like, well, I feel like New York is that. People are leaving our city. People are leaving our country. People are leaving our state. And no one seems to care. And I mean our country too, by the way. We have the most Americans who are expats we've ever had. There are more Americans living outside of America now than it's ever been. So we got migrants rushing in. I mean, Americans leaving, right? I'm not making this up. Do your own homework. That's true. More Americans have left America. More Americans renounced their citizenship last year than ever. That's a thing now. Renounce your American citizenship and go live in some other country. That wasn't a thing before. So everything is showing that people are unhappy. People are rushing. New York State's losing 300,000 people a year. New York State's living over 100,000 every year. They're leaving. And all they do is punish more. Punish more, punish more, punish more, punish more. It makes me want to give up, to tell you the truth. I feel like I just want to give up. So anyway, he then goes on to say, never get involved in a land war in Asia. Correct. Don't do that. Let them try to come to us. Yes. He says 1.5 billion in India and very close to 1.5 billion in China. India has close to 1.4 billion. Thank you. Yeah, I knew it was 1 point something billion. Way more than us. Absolutely, way more than us. 100%. Yes. David asks, are we becoming a country of oligarchs? Yes. And I got to tell you, the thing that's different, David, this thing's different. This is also the largest, the first time in history, I'm going to say it right. This time in history, we had the largest percentage of wealthy people ever. They've inherited. That wasn't a thing. America was filled with self-made people. It's getting more and more that the wealthy people are through families. It's generational wealth. There's always been a generational wealth part of America. There always has been, right? There always has been. But it used to be a very small part of wealthy people. And it was a guy who wrote a book on this, tons of data on this. Guy's name is Dr. Thomas J. Stanley. He wrote The Millionaire Next Door. That's right. And then like Networking with the Affluent, he wrote several books. Brilliant guy, doctor. I don't know if he's still alive. This started in the 80s or 90s when they're writing this stuff. So he had tons of data on this. And the data was in the past, the vast majority of Americans who were wealthy, they somehow did it on their own. Like they somehow built it, made it, got their money. That's getting bigger. That percentage is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And more people, it's generational wealth. So we absolutely are becoming oligarchs. And not just that, the people who get it are becoming huge and having control, like the Bill Gates of the world and the Bezoses of the world. Yes, Elon Musk of the world. Yes. So I think we absolutely, and here's the next thing you'll know. There's another way you can look at that. And that is where do the rich people live? I'm not joking. In the countries that have the most oligarchic societies, powerful and wealthy people live near the capital. It's a true statement, right? So in Russia, everyone of power lives near Moscow. Everyone of power lives in Moscow. That was not the case in America for decades. Wealthy people lived in New York, even though the capital was Washington. Wealthy people lived in California, even though the capital was Washington. Wealthy people lived in Chicago, even though the capital was Washington. Wealthy people lived in Boston, right? They lived in other areas, even though the capital was Washington. Now, what's the most wealthiest county in the country? Virginia, right next. The county next to Virginia, I forgot the name of it. Is it Prince? I forgot, whatever name of the county, I forgot the name of the county. The county right next to DC. That's the most wealthiest county now. Everyone's moving right near DC. Why? Because oligarchs require government to make sure they stay in power. So you want to be close to your government. So more and more people moving towards DC, oligarchy. And that was not the case years ago. It's the case now. I hope that was interesting for you to hear. So yes. All righty. Let's see if I can go down here. Yes, the 9270. Yep. Patty says Lars's idea is brilliant. I love it. 100%. Yes. 100%. Yes. So Grace says I meant here. If China invaded us, hit it lose. 100% Grace, you're correct. Yes. They would have China, no country, even with China's population, if there was some way they could start shipping people, I can't even imagine that, but if there was some way they're shipping people to us, they would still be slaughtered. There's no way they could win here. They would take 30 to 1 casualty. The casualty would be so insanely high because, one, Americans are armed, number one. Plus, how do you supply them? Americans would destroy the supply depots. We would destroy you're correct. They could never defeat us here. Those stories of like them landing in Russia, like the old Red Dawn, they're going to come, never going to happen. Complete fantasy, never going to happen. Utterly, no, you're correct. Yes, Grace, you are correct. Yes. All righty. Thomas says, I've already been pushing the 9270 and the Gold State Project. Yes, it's the answer. 100%. Yes, absolutely. So, Grace says, I just read 68 was the largest military for all U.S. branches. Is that true? Now I'm thinking, hold on. I don't think that's maybe number of units. I don't. Okay. Really? Hold on. Number of U.S. military. World War II. I think it was like 2 million, 12 million, something like that. Oh my God, 16 million. I'm off. I thought it was like 12, 14, 16 million. 16 million Americans in uniform, mostly boys in their late teens, early 20s, who are the U.S. allies fighting the largest and costliest and bloodiest war. Yes, about 56 nations. So 16 million Americans fought. But probably not all of them were actually under U.S. personnel. Some were probably in the British or something. So it probably was like 14 million or something like that. But anyway, tons of them. Yeah. At one point, there were, at the end, there were 11 million people in the Army, 4 million in the Navy, and almost 700,000 in the Marine Corps. So, yes. So if we look at military in Vietnam, I don't think it was anywhere near that. I can't imagine it being anywhere near that. Yes, highest was only 2.5 million in serving in Vietnam. So, yeah, it was World War II. It was World War II. So, all right, let's see here. Dave says, if we didn't expand, we wouldn't be an empire. Also true, but we expand different ways. So we expand different ways. Yep, absolutely. China had a little over 2 million active personnel in 2022, didn't include reserves. Yes, my point is they could put as much as they want into the military, right? Look, say we went to war against China. Do you think America would institute a draft? I think not. But I think not. I don't think they would. They would want volunteers. How many would volunteer? 1 million? 2 million? Maybe. I mean, how many would volunteer? During World War II, we had a draft. So we just said, come on in. Would they have to do would they institute a draft? China can institute a draft whenever it wants. It's a dictatorship. It's a fascist government. It does whatever it wants. So it says, we're making a draft. You 10 million, you're going into the army. And we're training you. Now, also, before we put a soldier into the field, we train them for about 6 months. I'm not joking. It's about 6 months, give or take, by the time someone actually is prepared to go into a battle zone. They'll do it in 6 weeks, 12 weeks. They don't care. Cannon fodder. Cannon fodder. We would never put up with that here. So I'm with you only 2 million now, but whenever they want, at their leisure, whenever they want. They want to spend, they just spend. Doesn't matter. So yes, Dave Coulon has said World War II was the last good war. The U.S. is what they said. True, absolutely. So, and then Wild Liberty says Louisiana Purchase helped fund Napoleon's war. Correct. That's why Napoleon wanted to sell it. So if we didn't take it, would the Spanish have taken it? Would no one have taken it? Would it have fallen to places? So that was my point. I'm not sure how that would work. So Grace says it's improbable, but not impossible for the LP to take the White House. Agreed. It's very, 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 very unlikely. But there is a way to get there. There is. That's all I'm saying. So yes. Oh, interesting. Hold on. Let me see if I grab this. Thomas says, my retirement residence will be in Liberia. Oh, there we go. I like that. There we go. Okay. Patty says, I know way more people who've left this country than I should and have dual citizenship so they can leave a job with a mic. Yes, 100% that's true. I know people who are going out of the way to get dual citizenship too. Yes, 100%. I've thought of it myself, right? I thought of it myself. I have. I know it sounds terrible, but I have thought of it myself. I haven't done it, but I have thought of it. Absolutely. So I don't know. It does seem really weird. So, all right. Dave says, wealthy people in Russia live near or in Moscow because outside of Moscow is undeveloped. Moscow has electricity, indoor plumbing. Outside Moscow and the Mesa, not so much. I know St. Petersburg has tons. St. Petersburg is a very major city, right? Even Volgograd used to be Stalingrad, major city, has lots. You could live out there if you wanted to, right? I mean, there are major cities in Russia that do have things. I think it does exist. I'm not sure about that. Maybe. So Mike says, U.S. now has nobility class without noblesse. We are getting classiest based on political ideology. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, I see. You know, I'm not sure about this one, Mike. I'm not, and hear me out. I'm not sure the ideology matters as much as they use it to make us fight, right? I think the vast majority of the people in the government, regardless of what they call themselves, liberals or conservatives or progressives or conservatives or Republicans, Democrats, I think the vast majority of them are just neoliberals or neocons. They're both the same now, like neocons. They're all kind of all the same. I mean, they would talk, again, rhetoric is different, right? And depending upon the issue, if it's a social issue, Democrats tend to really have better rhetoric. When it's economic issues, Republicans tend to have better rhetoric, but they both do the same thing. So, yes. In any case, David asks, why do libertarian politicians rarely mention or apologize for the words free market? Because it's a bad phrase, David. It is. And I know you don't like that, but it's true. When most Americans hear free market, what they hear, what they put in their head is, oh, big business controlling everything. That's how they hear it. And that is the fault, in this case, of initially Republicans and then Democrats. They both did it. Republicans started by calling themselves libertarians when they weren't, and by talking about a free market when what they meant was their big cronies making money. Democrats went, oh, I like that there. That makes you guys sound bad, so we'll beat you up. And we'll say things don't work. And whenever things don't work, they say, well, it's because of the free market. Even though we don't have a free market, they will call it free. I'll give you a perfect example of that. When Obamacare fails, you will find people go, see, the free market fails. And I know you're saying to yourself, how the hell is Obamacare the free market? Well, because there was a marketplace. I'm not joking. I've heard this more than once. There's a marketplace, didn't work because the free market doesn't work. We need Medicare for all. That's literally what they say. You will find Democrats claim that Obamacare is the free market. It didn't work because the marketplace was a free market, and therefore we have to have Medicare for all. I know if you're libertarian, your head probably just exploded. But if you listen to people who want Medicare for all, they will often say that literally. That is why free market is not used. I don't use it. I don't use it. I say consumer driven because we're all consumers. It feels better. I say we're in a consumer driven world. We should be consumer driven, which is free market. That's why. I hope I answered. Again, I know you didn't like it. I'm sure you didn't like that answer, but I wanted to answer it because you asked it. So I'm doing my AMA. I answered it, and I'm sure you were not happy with that answer. So yes. All right. That's very good. All righty. Let me see if I can grab some of these here. Patty said, you hit the nail on the head. They just want U.S. to fight about everything and believe we are so different. 100%. Yes, I know. It's so true. They go out of their way fighting like there's no tomorrow. They just keep fighting. They didn't want us to keep fighting. If the more we're fighting, the better off we are. So yes. Before I keep going, guys, I'm going to keep going. But before I do that, please do me a favor. Please do me a favor if you would. Click the button that is like. I know I say it every 30 minutes or so, but it matters. I get banned all the time. You know I do. The algorithms aren't nice to me. Click that like button. It does matter. If you want to super chat me, your stuff goes right to the front. It doesn't get missed. If you want to become a member, $49 per month, his membership helps me out so I can keep doing more of this. And of course, if you're on Twitter, retweet this right now so those X people can see me. I want X people to see me. more X people. It's good. But no matter what, please click that like button. It really does matter. The like button is so important. It is so important. All righty. Let's see here. David asks, Dave, he has a lot of questions tonight. Larry, what are your views on bottom-up leadership by example versus top-down leadership from authority as far as the Libertarian Party? The problem is there are two parts of this, right? The first one is for most people to move forward, they require a face or something to represent that movement or idea. So there's got to be someone who like does the thing, right? If you look at, say, I want to move, I want to, build a wall, right? Whatever. Trump is the face of that, right? So that kind of thing, you want to have a face for something. So you want to have that top-down part where there is a leader who is the face of the movement, a face of the idea. But to be forward, if you don't have bottom-up, you don't have infrastructure. I've said many times, if a Libertarian Party, the Libertarian Party does not need a savior. It needs hundreds of heroes. But how do you get hundreds of heroes? Very often, you need someone to inspire you from the top. So I need an inspirational person at the top to inspire bottom-up leadership. If someone at the bottom is just leading by example, no one sees them. Other people don't do anything. There's going to be someone at top. I'm inspiring you. See, look at me. I'm the inspirer. Okay, great. Oh, now I'm inspired. Now the people at the bottom start moving up on their own. And now we create those hundreds of heroes versus one savior. The problem is sometimes the guy at the top, he gets what I call the fever. And he thinks, maybe I am awesome because I'm at the top. Maybe I am the smartest guy in the world. Oh my God, people say I'm awesome. Maybe I am a god. They start thinking that. And then you don't get top-down, what I would say, top-down inspiration. You get top-down authority. So I think we want top-down inspiration so we can build up bottom-up infrastructure and leadership. I hope that makes sense. I don't think either one works. I think you need both of them because top-down inspiration builds up bottom-up infrastructure and leadership. So I think you need both of them. I don't think either one is a good idea, right? The example I bring often is the guy running for president, whoever runs for president. They're inspiring so that there are people who win locally the next year, right? And again, I did that, right? I talked about how hard it was running for office. One of the reasons why they hammered me so bad is they knew I could build infrastructure. In 2018, when I first started running, there were only 15 local affiliates across New York State. We had 62 counties. When I was done running, we had 30. We had double the number of affiliates in New York State. That's building infrastructure. That's that bottom up that happened from my inspiration, right? Now, I didn't win the election, obviously, but I got us ballot access. And then the next year in 2019, I crossed the state again, as I do every year. I've done it 6 times already. I've done 6 full Sharpes. I've crossed the state 6 times and 6 years in a row. And I did it in 2019 again. And then I crossed it. I was supporting local candidates. We had 107 local victories, libertarians, in 2019. It's 107 victories, local. They're all local. But that's the bottom up, right? I wanted to inspire. Then I went and supported, and they all won. I lost my election, but they all won theirs. So I think you need both. I wasn't trying to dodge your question. I was trying to answer it effectively. I hope I did. So hope that made sense to you at least. All right. Dave says, it constantly amazes me that defenders of the free market are expected to offer certainty and perfection, while government only has to make promises and express good intentions. Lawrence Reed. Correct. Yes. Yes. 100%. Gray says, oh, China would kidnap their own citizens for military service. Correct. Yes. And wouldn't think twice. Like, totally would do that. Absolutely do that 100%. Yes. And at whenever they want to. We just literally just do it. Absolutely correct. They would do it. Yes. Absolutely. So, all right. Let's see if I can grab a couple more of these guys. Give me a lot here. All righty. Let's see. Florida is similar pre-full Sharpe. 30 affiliates would be great. Yes. It would be nice. I would hope we would. Yes, I would hope we would do that. That would be amazing if we could get that many affiliates. I wish I think David's concept of bottom up is the right concept, but without someone at the top, motivating, people don't do it, right? They just don't do it, right? They don't do it. I wish they would, but people don't. They require someone on top going, I'm with you. I got you. Let's do this. It's just Yeah, this is what they want. They do something like that. So anyway, guys, I want to say thank you so much for this evening. I appreciate you giving me the couple hours of your evening. I really do. Click the like button if you would. And one more thing I'll ask you always, once this is over, whatever you are watching it on, please come back and put a comment. Please come back and put a comment, right? Because that helps the Al Gore rhythm. It does. So please do that. It helps tremendously. I'll be back on Monday night, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm off. Monday night I will be back on with the Sharpe Club. I will see you all very soon.